Hey friends out there in YouTube land, Rob here, and I want to share with you my thoughts on YoloBox Pro. You might see it up there. We'll insert some B-roll later. Getting down to it, I've used YoloBox Pro now for probably 3 months, 2 months, a little bit before the release. I got a copy of this one right here to use. It's a pre-production version, but it's running current firmware. We'll go over that in a minute. But if you don't want to watch this whole video and see what we're going to talk about more in depth, here are the things you need to know. One button streaming, real simple. It's as easy as connect to the camera, link an account, and go live. And all you have to do is either connect to Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or over SIM card. It's really that simple. T-Mobile as well as Mint Mobile both work here in the United States that I've used. Add graphics. Graphics can get added to this very simply. All you have to do is use the built-in title generator. You can do lower thirds, you can do full screen, you can upload PNGs, PDFs, JPEGs, all different kinds of formats through the SD card on this device, so you can create a completely custom screen and stream that will change those graphics depending on what you're talking about. Continuing on, we've also got a built-in graphic generator. So if you're not using your own graphics, you can do things like create titles. We can do things like scoreboards and things like that. You can just type different types of lower thirds and things. So it's already got some built in, even if you don't have them. And finally, compared to YoloBox, if you're wondering about YoloBox compared to YoloBox Pro, which one should you get? Actually, you're not going to go wrong no matter which one you've got. Of course, YoloBox Pro is bigger and better at everything. Bigger battery, bigger processor, slightly brighter, additional inputs, one extra input for, of course, the video. So you get 3 compared to 2. You get a line in and a mic in compared to just a combo line in / mic in. And better monitoring with your headphones. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. So it really comes down to what you need YoloBox to do for you. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, I needed stream with 3, so this was a big update. I think for most professional situations where you want to run and gun, YoloBox Pro is going to help you out. If you're doing a small church service or some kind of live event thing, but it only requires 2 cameras, well then YoloBox will be the one to go for you there. So let's jump right down into it. I got my notes right here. I'm going to be going back to them back and forth. But the reality is you can connect pretty much anything to YoloBox. Your camera, your camcorder. You can even connect a bigger camcorder as well as webcams. You can connect certain webcams. All of these use different HDMI or USB protocols, and some implementations of mirrorless cameras might use a different streaming protocol than others. So just make sure you check with YoloBox ahead of time if you're worried about some obscure camera brand. But Panasonic, Nikon, Sony, Fuji, these all work well. Olympus too, of course. If you've got some other kind of Yi camera or something off-brand that's not one of the big 5, you may have some difficulties. If they are a traditional DSLR camera with a mirror, then you may have some difficulties as well, because those are actually older generation technology. Most of them were built older years ago, and the new mirrorless modern specification seems to work the best with this kind of stuff. Those are some things to keep in mind. Cameras like this, I generally use camcorders. This is one of my darlings right now. This is the Panasonic X1500. The 1500, 2000, and CX10 all operate the same, and they all have live streaming built right into it. And I still use YoloBox or YoloBox Pro, either one. And the question that you might ask is why, if it's got live streaming built right into it? Well, number one, it's great to have live streaming built into the camera. Just connect your hotspot and go. But it's only one camera. Number two is the interface is difficult, right? If you're not into live streaming and choosing data rates and stream rates and stuff like that, this is going to be a bit of a problem. Now it's easy once you learn, like anything else, but this is much more technical than YoloBox. Back in the day when YoloBox first started, the different platforms were changing their protocols for live streaming so much that YoloBox was having to play catch up. Well, now YoloBox is so completely integrated with them, it really is as simple as a one-click streaming option. It's just that simple. Link your account just like you would link your iPhone or your Android phone or your computer to Google. It's just that simple. As far as the one-touch button goes, it's even as simple as that. But if you want to get technical, yes, there still are custom RTMP servers that you can use, and you can use a Restream service through YoloBox free. We'll talk about that in a minute. To get back to the beginning, YoloBox Pro is running YoloLive software version, which is the streaming software version 1.0.5. and it's using the OS, YoloBox OS Pro version 1.0.4. So everything I'm having to do with that for YoloBox Pro, everything I'm saying here has to do with YoloBox 3.5 for the YoloLive version, and the OS version is 3.1 or 1.3.1, I should say. All models, man, I got to tell you, I stream weddings, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. I also stream funerals and do live streams for some different realtors around here when COVID was going on. And I got to tell you, all of this applies to either one of these YoloBox. YoloBox has really come a long way, and it's I love it, man. I don't stream without it. Great layout. It's real simple. You can kind of see down there. We'll add some B-roll, but once you look, it might actually be a little bit out of focus for you. But when you look right there, you'll see we've got YoloBox. It's in here. You'll also notice that the menu is pretty simple. It's set up nice and straight. So we've got a great layout, simple streaming and streaming settings. It's easy to get into your encoder and change the different stream settings for direct stream or restream, stuff like that. There's also custom RTMP, which if you want to do that, you can set that up so you can have a private link or something that means, like if you're going to use Boxcast, things like that. You can do a direct stream to platform that does not take advantage of YoloLive's multiple live stream service. So YoloLive will stream to multiple destinations for you for free, no cost to you, all at the same time. So if you want to do Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, whatever you've got, and YouTube, you can use the free service built into YoloBox Pro or YoloBox Original, and it'll all work the same. Now, if you want to get that service anywhere else, that's through a company called like Boxy or Ustream. I don't even think Ustream's really around anymore, but services like that will allow you to restream. StreamYard will also allow you to restream, but you got to pay for it. You get it free right here. We talked about creating custom scoreboards, but you can do that all through the graphics template, which is really nice. Custom audio adjustment and some mixing capabilities. So yeah, depending on which one you get, you're going to have different mixing capabilities. The YoloBox Original will just have a single audio in port, and that's going to be for line or mic, depending on what you're using, but it doesn't know the difference. You'll use the audio sliders on that to just adjust the level. Here on YoloBox Pro, you do get a dedicated line and mic in, which is really nice, as well as your headphones out with an updated DAC, digital processor, digital analog processor or converter. And this will give you some additional options. You can adjust the levels and meters very similar to how you would use on a board, like a slider or a soundboard. Very similar. Not exactly the same. They look the same, but of course they're digital. And so I really like that. You also have the ability to make your source switching for audio follow the switching that you're doing. So follow the camera angle, or you can choose one or the other, and you can do fade in and fade outs manually with your finger while you're switching between the two. Although that could get a little tricky, takes a little bit of practice. Security and visibility stream settings for your different streams. You can do everything from schedule a stream, specifically in YouTube and Facebook, on YoloBox. You don't even have to go to the computer. You can open it up, schedule a stream, and then move straight on out to the stream settings and then begin streaming at that time. It'll create that custom token. If you want to do things like add graphics to that, you can do so as well. It's pretty simple. When you add graphics, you could just add them in here, or you can go to the stream service yourself and add it on Facebook or add it on YouTube. So it's got great interchangeability between the both of them. You can use them either way. So you can set up your stream here so that you know that it's in YoloBox. You can then move on over to YouTube to add some details. The cool part about YoloBox is because of the way they work, even when you're streaming directly to Facebook or restreaming with the Restream server, if you've got more than one YoloBox like I've got here, if you create an event here, it will create a subsequent event right there, and you can stream from both of them at the same time. Your computer, YouTube specifically, I know this for YouTube, will recognize those two different angles as different cameras coming in, and you could actually switch through them in your YouTube desktop software. That's awesome. But you want to know what's even better? You don't have to do that. You can create two separate streams. Instead of going to YouTube to do anything, you can go into YoloBox and just add a YouTube live streaming source, and it'll recognize that second camera on your YouTube page, and then you can just have it straight here. So you could literally have two different people at two different places on the world, as long as you have an internet connection, and they can be streaming back and forth and included in one another's live stream. Just that simple. You will have to wait with some delay, but just if you're not used to delay isn't a problem necessarily with YoloBox. Delay has to do with the traveling of signals through the network. But once the conversation gets started and everything, there's no delay because it's happening back and forth, other than what your voice may regularly pause. That's something that we deal with in broadcast all the time. I don't deal with that kind of delay in broadcast a lot myself, but when I have dealt with that in the past, that's what I've experienced. And then split screen options. Let me tell you, these are all the same split screen options. So if you want to have two people side by side, you can do split screen from two separate ones, which means that you could not only do two separate camera inputs, as in terrestrial cameras right here, but you could do two separate local cameras that are separate from each other geographically somewhere else, and you could split screen them on one background. Two screens can be up at one time. I don't use that service a lot, but I have tested it in the past. It works great. People love it for interviews, and I can't see why not. And then record to SD card. Guys, all of this will record to an SD card internally. Now, when YoloBox originally came out, I didn't like to use the internal YoloBox SD card recording because it just didn't seem to be as high quality as the stream. And if you're streaming in 1080 or 720, you want your recording to be as high quality. That is not the case now. When I record in any of them, I get a nice high definition stream based on what it is that I'm doing. All of them will still record at the same frame rate and quality settings as YoloBox chooses using its constant quality algorithm, which is great. Some streamers that are more advanced may not like that. YoloBox does not let you choose your stream rate, your bit rate, your streams, or your frames per second, only just your resolution. And you might think to yourself, gosh, I have to have this 25 megabits per second upload or something like that. And if that's the case, you probably know you also have to have a dedicated network connection in order for that to happen. And streams are very difficult. Even with StreamYard and other streaming services, when the data rate gets low, it becomes choppy and will cut out completely. YoloBox doesn't do that. YoloBox compresses everything on the encoder and then sends it up. And generally, you're going to have a stream rate between 2 or 3 megabits per second and upwards of 10, between 24 and 38 or 40 frames per second, just depending on what your resolution is. But about 30 frames a second is what I seem to get streaming 1080p, right around 5 or 6 megabits per second. And if you think that's a problem, then you're wrong. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's like Diet Coke, you know, don't knock it till you've tried it, or no Coke Zero, that commercial. Not sponsored by Coke, but the point is, lots of times we get caught up in specs and we don't realize what we're talking about because we haven't seen it firsthand. I'm telling you, if I can stream a wedding at 1080p using the constant quality algorithm and have my clients love it, recognizing that it's a live stream and not a cinematic video made with one of my cinema cameras in the other room, then you'll recognize that it's probably good enough for you as well. Okay, in most situations. And in situations where you would need to be on location with a 4K up signal stream, where's your broadcast truck? Because at that point in time, that's not even a broadcast standard that we're using. It is true that different sports places, like for NFL and baseball, they will stream at a much higher rate when they stream their broadcasting, but they have satellite trucks out there, they've got the infrastructure put in for it, and they've got hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to make sure that that signal could arrive in 4K. Here, that's not the case. YoloBox will let you stream at Jockey's Ridge, North Carolina, on top of Jockey's Ridge. YoloBox will let you stream at Como, Virginia, and allow you to stream out and all over the place, just in remote locations is what I'm trying to say. If you go down to Wanchese or Rodanthe, North Carolina, in the Outer Banks, if you can get a cell phone signal, you can stream. And that's great. And it can look nice, too. You may bump your resolution down to 720, but that's a choice you get to make. All right, let's continue on right here. My iPad said it didn't believe who I was for a moment. We kind of talked a little bit about frame rates and bit rates already. We're kind of getting into that, but I guess the point that I want to make is if you know that you need a 4K signal, then don't look at YoloBox because it doesn't do 4K. If you know that you need a 26 or 25 or 20 megabit connection constant, then don't look at YoloBox because it's got constant quality. Those are already things, so don't be mad because YoloBox has all these great features except the one that you want, because YoloBox has all the great features that I want. So my point that I'm trying to make here is know what you're getting yourself into when you get to the streaming rates. I think YoloBox is great for its convenience. It literally is YoloBox Pro and YoloBox, but YoloBox Pro specifically for me with the third HDMI port is just as simple as pick up, grab, and go. And I absolutely love that. I don't think I could, I don't know that I could do my job the way I want to do my job without YoloBox Pro. When I had the original YoloBox, I was trying to stream with 3 cameras on 2 inputs using a USB input through an HDMI to USB converter, and that was difficult, but it got the job done. Now with 3 native HDMI inputs, there's no question. 2 land cameras, 1 aerial camera when I'm streaming a wedding, boom, it's done. And then I run all of my audio in through my HDMI 1 source, which is a camcorder, or I choose to just run it in through an audio monitor that I've got, the H6, great, on wireless mics. Done, just done. And I absolutely love that. I think that it's also great for pros on the go. I think it's awesome for people that need setups that are simple and easy to repeat time and time again. Other than a firmware update every once in a while, you don't have much to do with this. I also think that it's great for on-location events and direct in-studio use. So if you know that you don't need a particular resolution over 1080p, YoloBox in studio when connected to your Ethernet is going to give you 30 to 50 frames a second or 30 to 40 frames a second, upwards of that 10 megabits per second. That's been my experience. It's just going to do it because you have a dedicated connection. And as YoloBox gets better with more firmware updates that they bring to it, it might even get better than that. I don't know. But right now I'm reporting the news of what I've experienced, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I think that it's for corporate operations. You know, if you've got to do a seminar, a webinar, something like that. If you've got weddings and funerals, if you've got parties, I think it's great for news gathering. Now, maybe not the big channels, right? But if you're a small local news source, or if you're a Facebook news or a Twitter news channel, this would be great for something like that. I think that it's also great for market-to-client reach. You think about Facebook to the world when you've got a business that you're trying to market on Facebook, and you want to teach or share about something, you've got a big announcement to make, you can build up a lot of excitement and then stream with multiple cameras and have a really nice production with those overlays to the world from Facebook through YoloBox. Mind blown, right? It's really that simple. I think it's also good for hometown sports, high school sports, elementary sports, you know, things like that. Get with your local school board, find out if they need these types of things. YoloBox will provide it. Just plug in a camera and do it. Setting up the delivery is easy because you'll have a link that you can make private that the school board can put on their website that only certain people can access. I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer there. I think that local venues will work, like you got a club down the street that's got a Mardi Gras thing going on, but you're not in Louisiana, so they want to invite everybody to it. Or you got regional promotions, like something like small regional supermarkets, or even larger, but that market to regional areas, discount stores, things like that, will really enjoy live events, especially when they have them. If I could change anything, I know this has been real rosy, and YoloBox, YoloLive, you know, I hope they listen. If I had to change anything, my actual number one thing that I would change is dark mode. I'd give it a dark mode so that it just would help the battery conserve a little bit more. YoloBox, it's about 3 hours of battery. I've been getting about 5 hours of battery over here. Dark mode, although when you're broadcasting it is dark, but on the regular page it's not. It's bright outside in the bright sunlight. It would be nice if it had a high contrast mode or dark mode so that it was white letters on black. Then it'd make it easier to enter all your text and when you're in the bright sun. You're about 300 nits here, about 400 nits here. These are estimates. I have no direct knowledge. I think they list them on the YoloBox Pro page, but I just don't remember. I think that one thing the entire community and everybody asks for is an update to the constant bit rate, the constant quality algorithm. It's great that YoloBox gives us the opportunity to do that. I guess it's great. It'd be great if they gave us the opportunity to choose something other than the constant bit rate or the constant quality algorithm. If nothing else, I'd like to have a consistent 30 frames a second. I don't really have a problem with it in my work now, but obviously if I could choose bit rate or frames per second or just one of the other, if I can't have two, if it would give me the option to do that, and I would. I understand why they don't. It's because not giving you that option and leaving it all to the computer and decide there means that it's going to make the choices in order to facilitate streaming. You or I may make a choice that doesn't facilitate streaming, but it facilitates something else. So it'd be nice if we could choose. It's much like turning your camera off of manual, right? One way or the other. Finally, I think that we would upgrade the headphone jack a little bit. So the monitoring port in YoloBox Pro is a lot better, but sometimes there's some static. They have improved it quite a bit over YoloBox, the original. I would improve it more. When I'm monitoring, sometimes I hear a hiss. Now, that's not a problem because I don't have that hiss repeated on my stream, but when you hear a hiss on location live, sometimes it can drive you crazy, right? Because you just don't know. You just don't know. Guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope that you have enjoyed this deep dive into YoloBox and YoloBox Pro. I would like to say this is more about YoloBox Pro, but it really isn't that way. It's about what is the best choice for you. So if you see this up, please leave your comments down below. Ask any questions. I'll do my very best to help you. If you have any questions, don't forget the guys over on the YoloLive forums, as well as over at YoloBox on Facebook and everything else. These guys are just great at getting back to the community, and they're awesome with providing firmware updates. People sometimes talk about firmware updates as a problem. Well, I like Fujifilm. I do shoot with Fujifilm, and one of the things that they're great, and they believe in Kaizen, which is this concept of constant improvement. I think that somehow YoloBox has that same spirit. They are constantly improving this, and I couldn't be more happy with the team over at YoloBox. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Rob. I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye for now.